I should have said we're going to take a brief break, but I did not. So now here we are back in session, and I can't look at the clock at 6:23, so we will proceed. What a great representation. On to item 2B, student reps. We should have had you guys do it in front of all those people.
Well, we finished it in time to give it.
Seriously.
Yeah. Okay.
So he bought you time, in other words.
Yeah. I was prepared for that. I don't know who schedules these, but the day after spring break.
Could have done it over spring break.
Not on the beach. Here's our March board report. Spring sports are now off to a start now that the snow's melted. The track team is finally outside and not trudging through the snow running 400, so that's a good sign. The track team has had 2 meets so far this year, and we are off to a pretty good start. We have a lot of young participants this year, and we're really excited. Our girls are really kicking it down, so we're expecting good things from them. The girls' soccer team has set some super high expectations for themselves, and they are looking at a very optimistic season. Baseball and softball are sick of practicing in the gym and ready to get out on the fields, and that's about all I know.
So ACT day, it was good. I can speak for some of my grade. We got up early, we went to get some breakfast that teachers made, the food classes made, and parents brought in. It was good. We got some good pancakes and other kinds of sausages, all that. Yeah, but we all felt really prepared because of a practice day we took about a month ago maybe. And yeah, it just really prepared us for what the ACT was going to be like and like time management wise. And then on that day also sophomores went to SMC, and freshmen went to the Science Museum, and the seniors went to Feed My Starving Children. And then dynamics, they are heading off to state, which is on May 4th or 5th. They didn't remember which one. And so while they're there, they're going to be performing All for the Best and All of Me, which they feel really confident in bringing home something. And yeah.
You can't take it with you. The play that went on 2 weeks ago, when I was talking to some of the kids today, they were really disappointed that it was over. They said it was one of the best productions that they've ever put on and definitely the most fun. And I almost made a girl cry when I asked her about it today. So here's some awesome things that are happening in the classroom. There on your right, you can see a little 3D printer action. The kids have really been working hard on developing different things. For example, I seen one student today 3D print like a headphone holder to wrap his headphones around. So they're just kind of fun things that the kids get to do in class, and I think it's a really good skill for them to learn. And then some students who may have not posed for the picture.
So college speakers and leadership. So a handful of students here were picked to go to a leadership retreat in St. Paul, and it was a really good experience. It's kind of like what we do with the freshmen, you know, kind of just encouraging people and like saying, hey, this is what we see in you guys, and we want you guys to show it. So that was a good time for us. We all set ourselves goals around the school, and yeah.
This leadership team was built by a team who was made last year, and that was our first year doing it. So going into year 2, we've learned a lot. We started doing Freshmen Advisories on Fridays. So 20 seniors, we split up and we each take an advisory, and we kind of just talk about day-to-day things that go on in the school. And I think kids are now finally starting to open up to this. I wish we would have started a little bit earlier. But it's just things like, what about my driver's test? Like, how can I do good on my driver's test? Just basic things that kids want to know, and it's really beneficial for the school.
And then, prom is around the corner, yeah. We've only had one meeting, but we're starting to pack down everything into getting more meetings in and talking about more themes and getting that all ready for this year. And we're planning on making it pretty big.
Pretty big, yeah. ACP Summit and Blanket Project. So the Blanket Project I was talking to Miss Peer the other day, and she was really excited because the organizations who received the blankets actually came to the school this year. So that was really cool for the students to see and talk to those people. And she said it was a huge success. And the ACP Summit stands for
Academic and Career Planning.
Yep. And during the morning, the kids went off to WITC, and then they had some speakers come in and talk about careers. And then in the afternoon, our leadership crew went down and we talked to them about what high school is actually like. And they got to ask us questions, and we kind of told them what we did and what not to do, and it's just, I think it's a great thing. And because when I was a freshman, I remember we kind of got a tour of the high school, and it was super scary, and we weren't really sure what we were getting ourselves into. So it was a really fun day for all of us, and hope it continues.
It was a good day.
And that is all.
You guys always do such a nice job. Very concise, and the pictures really help.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Thank you.
Good job.
Is there a boys golf team?
There's a
Yes.
boys golf team. See, I'm always gonna forget one sport.
Anything with a stick
First
on
aid.
your hand.
First
Is there a lacrosse team doing?
Have a little cheat sheet.
That's
Cross
really
off.
good. I wonder how we would do it. Okay, any questions for those guys?
Awesome, thank you.
I like the idea of you guys saying things for the freshmen coming in and having that opportunity for them to ask you questions back.
Yeah.
And it's every week, you said?
We do it every other week.
But it's
And-
more often than once, so
Yeah.
they can think about what questions they might have and know that that time's coming up.
Yeah, and we kind of have guided discussions sometimes, and then we end up getting off onto tangents, and it's really good. Just kids talking, and then break into small groups and stuff.
I think that's great. I saw you both are participating. Yay, yay. All right, so thank you guys. On to 2C, the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just a few things here. Just enrollment wise, as you see, we're down 3 this month. We kind of fluctuate a little bit back and forth. Over the next month, we'll be able to make some assumptions and projections on junior kindergarten and kind of what the trend is going to be. From last year, we are down 45 students, which is pretty predictable because of the low JK programming, or numbers in there. So again, over the next month or so, we'll be able to see where we're heading there. A couple information items. WASB, I think you probably all get this in the mail. The spring workshops are coming up, and things about open meeting law, public records, conflicts of interest. I think we went last year to this one. So, and do you get these?
Yeah,
You guys- you guys-
at least I got a postcard.
Okay. Well.
You're the recipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, that's, I can assume that. The work session in April, Dave and George will give an update on the custodial services at the work session. And then also Dave will be giving a presentation on 5CAST, the forecasting model that we use at times.
Good.
And let's see, this Thursday, I don't know if this is for sure or not yet, because I haven't been able to get a hold of Becca, but we're supposed to have a Bridging Somerset meeting Thursday at 6 o'clock, and it's the one with all the elected officials from the township, the village, and school board and chamber. So again, I'll let you know if that's going to happen, but it's on my calendar. One of the things that I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I've been meeting with the principals individually and looking at projections for next year as far as budget reductions in case the referendum doesn't go through. I think we're going to have to outline some reductions in those areas that the $1 million levy would have carried or covered. So we met with the principals individually, met with Dave and Trish separately as we go from the buildings to the big picture. And then this last week I did some work on some things that I thought we could look at. Again, they're not prioritized, but I've outlined about $500,000 to $800,000 in reductions to give an idea that if we need to, here's something we can start with. School perceptions survey will be launched. This is the staff survey. It'll be launched March 27th. It'll be open through April 8th. A note went out to the staff today just to let them know that this is happening. and we'll send out another reminder. As far as the referendum presentations, I've got 3 of them this week and 1 on Sunday. Again, if you know of any groups that want information about their upcoming referendum, be happy to go out any time of the day, night, or morning, or middle of the night to make those. And then the last thing I have is, we actually, this is kind of interesting from WASB, from Ingrid Frank. She found our certificates for the last 2 years of belonging to WASB, and so she sent those out to me in the mail. And then we have an award. Suitable for framing to Marie. It says a certificate of achievement from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Awards Level 1.
I've never reported all the things I've gone to, and I told them I didn't want to hear it.
This is to Marie Colbeth for
Thank you
demonstrating a
very
high
much.
level of commitment to Wisconsin public school students by participating in WASB professional development opportunities. There's a pin
Why, thank
and a
you.
certificate suitable for framing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing that.
They've offered those for years, so you guys, if you want to, I've never filled out the paperwork to put them in there, so they must have tracked it for me this past year.
Well,
Okay,
you see,
but
they
it-
got
it-
our last 2 years of certificates here, so.
Yeah, it is really helpful when you can get to them, or they've got great information on their website too, so when you have questions, and they're very helpful too, just calling in there, or emailing. I'm an email person because I keep a record of it. I don't remember things as well on a phone conversation.
Now, Marie, one last thing, we've got
Sorry.
8 days left,
Yeah.
and so, we gotta keep getting the word out. It's just a message to everyone, so.
Absolutely. All right, any other questions for him? I have one, I'm sorry. When did you say that school perception survey was going to be going out?
It's gonna be launched the 27th of March through April 8th.
Okay.
That's the window. And it's a 5-minute survey, or if you do comments, they say it could take up to 15 minutes. So just allow that amount of time. And again, note went out to the staff today about that.
And on the Bridging Somerset, that one is, I saw the email from Becca this
Did-
Thursday.
Did she, when
So
did she
she
put
sent,
one out?
I just saw it come through.
Oh, okay, then, okay, because I haven't been
So
able to get a hold of her
hopefully we'll
today,
get
so.
people to it. I haven't even looked at my own schedule for Thursday, so I don't know. But,
Where will it be and what time do you think?
Right here at 6 o'clock, we usually use one of the
I
back
might be able
rooms.
to, I might be able to go. I went to
And our portion of that is really the referendum piece, as far as that, that was our commitment to that group is, strong schools and part of the referendum and what have you. So we'll be giving a big update on that, and some of our other committees maybe can mention what's going on. So,
I think too, you were hoping that we would be in connection, so we would be supporting each other. So the referendum is ours, but we want to support the whole.
oh, yeah.
Sounds like-
We all had our different areas that we were working on, like
Focusing
River
on.
and Roads
Yeah.
was doing that through the chamber and what have you.
That
Bob.
was so interesting,
It
that,
was.
that report that
Oh,
they
it
gave.
is. That's
That
just
was
good
really
stuff. I
interesting.
mean, that's just getting everyone on the same page, and I don't know, Bob, if you're available,
I'll be here.
give us an update on what's happening with the development.
Yeah, maybe I wanna mention, it's probably a good time to mention, we have, signed a contract for a consultant to come in and do a branding project. It's not necessarily for a village project, but it's, community-wide. So there'll be invitations going out, for focus groups that they'll interview. It's primarily focused on the business, end of, the community, so, but then they will rebrand, push out some initiatives that will help rebrand and advertise Somerset.
As a community
As a
choice.
community.
Yay.
That sounds great.
That really does.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. It's 80 Advantage, they're down in Madison. They're out of the companies I've interviewed, they're phenomenal.
When are they coming back?
The meeting is going to be the 11th. They're going to be very condensed groups of 8. So they do want, so if there's going to be board involvement, they asked for 1 to 2 members from all the constituents around the town and village. So that'd be, it's going to be, hopeful.
Are you
that it
hitting
goes well.
all of the towns that have some in the district? Are you staying with Somerset, the village of Somerset?
Primarily Somerset.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be more of that, so to get some cohesiveness, and that's hoping to pull some of the objectives together a
Yeah.
little bit.
I like that
But,
idea.
She, right away said, mention the things that we don't talk about to people, that, we have X amount of colleges and universities within an hour drive, we have a metropolitan airport.
Yeah.
Our international airport,
Yeah.
the metropolitan area, all within an hour drive.
Yeah.
But we just
And
don't
yet we still
tell
feel
anybody
like,
about it.
we still feel like the country kind of too,
Right.
so.
Just thought I'd add that. But that is a little bit of a side out of the Bridge in Somerset, R&R initiative.
Rivers
that,
Road.
yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's one we wanna help with. Not overwhelm it, but help with. That sounds great, Bob. Anything else? For Dr. Beasley?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just wondering if anybody else.
I was reading.
All right, then, we will, let's see, I'm very happy to hear you're starting to talk about the possibility, if it should not, so that we're planning both ways. We're gonna think optimistically. On to D, 2D. Dave is,
I think he's in his office.
okay, if you've had an opportunity to review the financial reports that were linked and have specific questions? None? Anyone?
We got a big load on last time, so.
All right. He's always available, and they're right there for us to look at too. So on to item 2E. We've already covered one. CISA, I was not at that last meeting because Kate had a concert in Green Bay. So community education, Catherine?
Yep, I talked to Renee, and she said she does keep adding classes as they come up, but she's having a tough time of people actually registering. She said the tumbling classes are a hit, and there are 3 people signed up for Ukrainian egg decorating. But not a lot of interest in the other classes. I offered to teach a couple, and we have to have at least 10 kids to pay for a skating class. Even if I do it for free, ice time is expensive, and we only got 5. So, but she said she just wants to keep putting it out there, and so if you know of anybody, she can add them at any time. So mailings are just too expensive, and we're just doing it online at this point. So she just said it's just don't give up, just keep adding classes and put the word out.
Is there any class in the school that actually uses like the Facebook advertising? Any class that explores that? Not really?
Are you in the media class, media arts class?
I was. They don't do anything pertaining to Facebook though. The only thing that really goes out that has any kind of following is the school store page.
Okay.
Are you asking about how to use ads?
No, I'm just wondering if we teach that at all, the Facebook advertising.
What about in your marketing class? Do you
Oh,
cover?
I'm taking that one online, but the school store class, we're going through kind of a marketing program right now. Or
And none of
unit.
the marketing covers the Facebook advertising either?
Not really online.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions for Catherine? Thanks, Catherine, for touching base with her. On to and actually in CC 11, we're actually at the point where they send out surveys, so we're evaluating ourselves, which brings it back. We were gonna look at that after the referendum, so just to remind everybody. And also our Jerry. On to E4, the Employee Council. Katie?
We have a meeting this Thursday
Oh,
afternoon, so
Yeah.
more updates next month.
Yeah.
so it's early enough for the other one Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, busy. And then Lori, the Memorial Scholarship Fund?
The scholarship applications were all due March 11th. They've been distributed to the readers, and they're in the process of being evaluated. I think we had 50 some.
That's good.
53, 54, something like that, applications.
What is it normally?
I think that's about what it was last year too.
And with kids, some of them just going into work, that's probably that's probably a lot of those going to college, if not all of them. So that's good. All right, so on to, did we miss anything? 2E6. Did we forget anything we should have had on there? All right, then, and I didn't get any red cards, so I don't have anything for the open forum. So we'll scoot over to the 4, educational delivery. 4A, please. The course offering presentations. Usually these, you just kind of give us a summary of them, not for us to approve or disapprove necessarily, but to see what's happening, because we figure it's yours.
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
Okay, so I sent you a memo along with the course offering booklet, which I am very aware is very lengthy.
Yeah, but the memo was great.
Okay, I was hoping that was
helped a lot.
helpful so you weren't looking through all 60 pages of the course offering booklet.
That
So,
was awesome.
as I kind of put in my memo, I really just wanted to highlight specifically in that memo some of the changes that I thought were particularly of interest to you. I did not highlight, simple edits and those kinds of things that just kind of change over time. Really want to focus on specifically some of the things that we are kind of bringing on board into the high school. Typically this timeline would be multiple months sooner than right now. But with all the changes and things going on this year with our new schedule, I didn't feel teachers would have adequate time to be able to even know what kind of changes potentially they wanted to make for next year without kind of pushing it right to the edge, which is right about now. So we're planning on having students, 8th grade, middle school, as well as 8th grade CNN students all the way through our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors register within the next couple weeks. We've got, like I said, a lot of really exciting things. Probably, I'll just highlight a couple. We're excited about adding 2 additional Project Lead the Way classes, really trying to kind of beef that up and really start to look at how we can utilize that type of programming with our Fab Lab. Obviously the referendum plays a big piece into that as well, but excited that we have trying to increase some capacity. Right now Eric Olson is the only Project Lead the Way teacher, looking at Jen Sutton also feeding into that as well, to be able to utilize some of the entrepreneurship pieces that she does and kind of merge those 2 things together over the next 2 years. On pages 10 and 11, probably one of the most exciting things that I hope you took a look at was implementing our first academy within the building. So we've had a lot of discussions over the last multiple months of trying to bring some additional pathways into the building to engage all types of different students. We feel as a staff that we have a lot of really good opportunities right now for our high-level, high-flying kids with our college in the schools, AP, kids that are headed on that path, but feeling like we're missing something right now in terms of trying to engage students who may not necessarily be headed to a 4-year college. So the academy idea really came from how do we deliver education and ensuring that kids are getting all the standards they need to get in a less traditional way, so students aren't necessarily getting their English standards just by sitting through an English class, for example. So we feel really strongly that we're going to be able to kind of grab a different subgroup of kids right now that we know are not engaged in what's happening in the building. We know that there's important standards in English, for example, that every kid has to have when they leave the building, but sitting in an English class and learning those standards through poetry may not be the best way to engage certain students in our building. So we are excited to be able to have some flexibility to be able to kind of morph that academy. I kind of gave you a bit of a sketch basically of what a typical day may look like for a student that would be enrolled in that academy. So we have a lot more communication to do with our students and stakeholders about what that is. Hoping then a year from now I'll be here talking to you about our academy number 2, which we hope to have more of an engineering focus, which is why we're trying to kind of pick up our Project Lead the Way. Again, I mentioned the Fab Lab and some of those kinds of pieces. So frankly, just trying to get a little bit more creative about how we ensure that we're engaging every student in our building, knowing that not every student learns the same way, one size doesn't fit all, and how can we provide some additional opportunities within the building for kids to get what they need and get what they have to have before they leave here, but looking a little bit different way. So we're excited about that. What else here? Hang on. Adding 2 additional fine arts classes. So our music department was really passionate about trying to find some additional ways to engage students in the fine arts that may not necessarily have all of the flexibility in their schedule to take choir or band, but to still have some sort of an opportunity to participate in some sort of music class. Number one, for many of our kids going to a four-year college, having 2 years of fine arts is becoming a requirement, so that's something that is important to a lot of our kids. We have some kids that really want to participate in those things, but because of a jam-packed schedule, even with the flexibility that our new schedule has, eventually you run out of time and room to be able to take everything. So Eric and Jamie put together what I think is a really great option for kids to be able to get at least a little bit of a taste of those things. As you maybe saw in my booklet, those 2 fine arts classes are not the full 11 mods, which many of our classes are. They are more like 6 or 7 mods, and the credits are less, just to be able to provide kids some additional opportunities to participate and experience those things. So, sorry, a couple more I want to mention here. So, science. Our science department for the last couple of years has been desperately needing and wanting to add some additional programming to the science department. They did not have, or currently don't have, many electives, and not a whole lot of choice for kids who may not necessarily want to go into chemistry, for example. So, adding for our freshmen, developing an honors physical science class. So students coming into the building as freshmen will either take physical science or have the opportunity to self-select an honors physical science. Right now, science is feeling kind of left out because we offer those things for English, we offer those things for math, and really didn't provide an opportunity of that sort for science. So they're excited about that. And then we have 2 electives that we're bringing on board. One is astronomy, which will be taught by Mr. Anderson, which he's jacked about.
Excited?
Oh,
I bet.
he's had this class written for like a year, waiting to be able to put it into action. So, so we're excited about that. And then we also have, hopefully as you saw here, an interdisciplinary class that will be taught between Mr. Wallen and Mr. Anderson. So they will be co-teaching a class together through the social studies vein and the science vein. And it's been called about 15 things. We finally decided on universal perspectives, and students will have an opportunity, if they take the class for half a year, they can choose whether to use that credit as a social studies credit, a science credit, or an elective credit. Again, trying to find some ways to give kids flexibility and being able to get what they need. If they take the class for a whole year, then they could extend that to a full science credit, a full social studies credit, or an elective credit. So.
And are the teachers, they're putting in a lot of extra time and effort then developing these classes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God bless them, because that's a lot of time and oh my Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, honestly, teachers after having gone through and experienced the options within a schedule like we're running, I mean, Cody and Keaton I can't even tell you how eager to be able to get this class moving. They have posters around the school, if you've seen it.
Marketing their class?
Yes. Like, hey, look at this. So there, I walked by actually before spring break, and I was walking down the hall, and I went, what is? Yep. So they're excited, and I think because they're starting to get a feel and a flavor for the flexibility and the options within this type of schedule. So those 2 are the perfect 2. You can probably speak to this, to be able to execute a class like this. It's the only class going into next year that we'll have of this kind of using it as a bit of a pilot to see how it works and work out some of the kinks. But
so the teachers are kind of seeing, not only is this good for kids, but it also keeps you fresh in teaching, and it lets you kind of maybe teach some things that are your passion.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, which I think is always a win-win.
Yeah, none of this came from me demanding you will develop 2 more science classes. I mean, I had more classes brought to me than I felt we were able to manage, for next year. We have a couple kind of in the queue waiting for potentially, next school year. But yeah, it's fun to see the passion. We had some really great discussions within PLCs, within our building leadership team, in terms of what are some pieces that we're missing, what are some gaps that we need to fill, what do we need to kind of keep pushing forward. So as I said, I know in the course offering booklet, it's 60 pages of a ton of information. So if other questions, I'm happy to answer those. And I should mention the credit.
Just give us that great memo, because that really.
Well, that's easy enough. But I do want to mention, I'm sorry, one more thing. If you saw in there as well, increasing our graduation credits. Do we see that?
Yeah.
So basically, it's my effort over the course of the next 2 years to at least get our credits to the minimum requirement as dictated by DPI. Over the next couple of years, we can certainly have more discussion if we feel like we need more than that. Many of our students will leave with more than the 24 credits, but right now we're under, so we're kind of phasing in over the next 2 years, basically just touching the elective credits. Our cores are fine, everything else is good. Consumer ed, some of those things that have already been determined as graduation requirements, those things will all stay. It's basically just increasing student elective credits over the next 2 years. So I want to make sure that for our current junior class moving into their senior year, that this change wouldn't end up adversely impacting their ability to graduate or do some things they want to do. So we've had some discussions, especially with our counseling department, about looking at potentially needing to be creative, especially with our students, for example, that do school to work and those kinds of things. Looking at how to kind of give a little bit of wiggle room for our juniors, coming into next year. And then after that, we'll be able to kind of move through the system. But
I have a question.
Great.
And I love that you're increasing the credits.
Yep.
But I'm confused about the gym.
Oh.
So the FIAD credits?
Okay.
Okay, so if they're going down to a quarter credit per semester, does that fit into the schedule? I
Mhm.
mean, is it half of the time
Yes.
period that the
Yep.
half was?
Yep. So those classes are phased in a much shorter fashion than our typical classes.
Okay.
So most of our classes, kind of our general standard classes, are 11 mods per week. Some of our AP and college and the schools classes might be 12 or 13 mods per week. For example, I have one class that's 15 mods. Gym, for example, FIAD 9-10, FIAD 11-12, we've reduced the amount of mods per week. I think it's 6 to kind of equate to a quarter credit. We did that, and I don't know if this is what you're asking, why we did it, but we did that essentially to, A, it frees up a little bit more room for students in their schedule, and B, we liked the idea of kids essentially being forced to have FIAD for a longer period of time due to the benefits of some of the mental health pieces, wanting to get our kids kind of to keep moving and grooving. So we had a lot of discussion about that, but
Would they have an option? I mean, like if they're involved in sports or something,
yep,
would that count as the quarter so that they don't necessarily have to go to
Mhm.
gym class?
Yep, so through the WIAA, we can basically waive 1/2 credit.
And it's been like that for
Yep.
a long time.
Yep, and that
1/2
hasn't changed, and we still,
Per year, or is
No.
that
just a
total?
one-time,
One time?
Yep. And our weightlifting classes are still, 1 credit per semester, or excuse me, 1/2 credit, 1 credit, or 1 credit for the year. Our 0-hour weight training is still an option, and next year we're gonna run that both first and second semester, so that is a 1/2 credit each semester as well.
Can they take that in the summer and get credit for that too?
So we're still gonna have summer FIAD.
And I'm just wondering, because, not everybody is
Yeah.
a big, huge fan of FIAD
Oh,
all
yes.
year long.
I've dealt with some students that aren't thrilled about that, right, yeah, so there's still some options for kids if they, yes.
And they could potentially take they could take 1/2 credit in one semester?
Mhm. Yep.
All right, that's what I need.
Yep. Yes.
Just curious.
I have a lot more thoughts on FIAD that after the referendum, you'll hear from me about our FIAD and health and offerings and those kinds of things, but for now, yes.
Okay.
The summer one really filled up, didn't it? I mean,
Great, well, in our 0-hour, I mean, you can speak to that, we have 70 kids sometimes,
Nice.
It's packed.
yeah, coming.
Shannon, I had
Yeah.
some questions about the math concept classes.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
So our concept classes that we're no longer running,
Uh-huh.
Like, would you like to know?
Well, I'm concerned about the number of students we have that are at the 25th percentile or
Mhm.
lower,
Mhm.
and how many of them there are, and what supports will be in place.
So currently right now, because we've been planning for this for well over a year, that this year was going to be our final year of our concepts classes, I can give you a little background on it. So these classes were developed with really good intention, just like every other district, trying to find a way to meet the needs of students that potentially aren't functioning with math at grade level.
Right.
We have found over time that these classes actually have been doing more harm than good, that we want all of our students no matter what their level of functioning, to be able to leave Somerset High School with certain math skills. And these classes kind of unintentionally have become special education math classes. The students, for the most part, that we have involved in these classes, not all, are supported by IEPs. And we have found over the last couple of years that instead of maintaining the bar, that we've actually been setting the bar lower than we ever intended. Again, with good intentions of trying to support kids and you know, again, just like every other district, trying to find ways to make sure that we're filling in some of those gaps. We believe that by having students participate in the general math classes with some of those supports, like back scheduling, which we found this year has been far more useful than trying to push a concepts class through.
Scheduling?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Scheduling?
Yep, so when we have students that have flex time,
Uh-huh.
they are intentionally scheduled with a content area teacher in an area that they potentially might be struggling.
Okay.
So our math teachers, for example, have, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but a certain amount of mods each week when they are scheduled with students, either one-on-one individually or in small groups.
Okay.
And that's how we have found we're getting way more bang for our buck in terms of filling some of those gaps. So the good news is the middle school, way to go, is sending us with very few kids that are below the 25th percentile. So we feel like with those numbers that have been decreasing every single year, that running separate classes just is not getting us where we want to be. So looking at who we have coming in as 8th graders, looking at our current data, we do all sorts of dips and kinds of things throughout the years. I feel like we have a really good idea of where our kids are at. These classes, as I said, started with really good intentions, just over the course of time, looking at our data, are not moving the needle. So,
But research really supports that, the
Right.
more inclusion model.
right. Yeah.
They have kids in the general ed and then support them on the
Yep.
backside with extra efforts, rather than pulling them out and giving them a lower bar.
Right. And I don't think that was, I agree with you, that was never the intention. When these classes were designed, I was the director of special ed. So, I mean, I was a part of those conversations. As we've kept data on these classes over time, it's just, we're actually moving in the wrong direction.
Trish?
With our achievement gap.
I just also want to just throw out there that
Yeah.
a lot of the research that we've looked at, a lot of the research that we studied have come from the strategic plan and the equity action plan.
Oh, yeah.
And really looking at ESSA, which is trying to have us close those gaps. And one thing that they're saying over time is that all of our good intentions and great ideas and to help students who may need a little extra support, the ways that we have implemented that over time have really just made that gap larger. So through our equity work, through the strategic plan, through our building leadership, it is absolutely essential that we keep the bar and support students in a different way.
So it's almost enabling a low performance effort for kids that can achieve a little bit.
You bet they can. You put them in with their peers and they will rise to the
Yeah.
occasion.
So the rate goes down where
Mhm.
the effort is
Mhm.
stagnant, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not yielding the results we're looking for, so we're gonna amp it up.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and way to look at something that's not working and how to make it work, rather than just going with what's not working. Just because we've always done it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It takes courage to do that.
Well, and I love data. So, I mean,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
that's what we should
tells
be.
us what we need to
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Any
Other questions for me?
So we're
Just
moving-
that the new classes that are being offered, I know the teachers are excited about it. I hope that they are being given the time they need to develop the courses. I know that Academy is a whole new way of doing business,
Mhm.
and I hope we support their efforts by giving them the time they need.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bruce.
I say we're losing 4 out of our 10 technology classes.
So some of those we're not losing, some of those have not been run for multiple years.
Okay.
So
We're just cutting
it looks worse than it is. And those were all dictated by Eric and Ryan, determining, what, again, part of it is the direction that we're trying to kind of head, moving away from a little bit of kind of your traditional making cupboards, making cabinets, and
Right.
really trying to steer those classes a bit more of a 21st century direction. Again, part of that is Eric's going to take on another Project Lead the Way class, and with our academy, some of those classes will actually kind of be absorbed within that academy through Ryan and through Eric.
Right.
It's gonna look and sound a little bit different, but many of
Well,
those,
even just
Yeah.
like you're saying, how these are labeled and like these classes
yeah,
need to be
yeah.
adjusted.
It's a work in progress.
Right. No,
So,
I'm-
yep.
When you
Yeah.
see- When you see half of them go.
Yeah.
you can-
Yeah.
So next year at this time, you can report on how that academy worked, how it worked, and
Yeah.
how you liked it, and if we're gonna add another one.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. Give you lots of info.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so on to item 4B1. Looking for a motion to recommend the school board approve the music department overnight field trip to Orlando,
Make that
Florida.
motion.
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Bruce. Thank you, Catherine. Any questions on that? They gave us a
Are they
great
waiting on
presentation.
the if it's bus or flying just based
Haven't
on
heard yet.
whatever they come up with?
I hope it's
Yeah,
flying.
I hope it's flying.
Yeah.
And my
I've
driver,
done the
Lot
bu-
less time
I've done
for
the bus
incidents.
tour.
Yes.
and my driver said we will. So if they need us to haul the equipment,
Okay.
Oh, that's
we're set.
nice.
All right, so,
We're his first dibs.
well, unless somebody else wanted to. Recommend that, we have a motion on the table by Bruce, seconded by Catherine, to approve the music department overnight field trip to Orlando, Florida during the 2019-20 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. All right, on to, I think 5, we're gonna be seeing those at our work session.
Correct, yep.
So we'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda, if anyone would like to.
I'll move. We approve consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Catherine. Any questions on those? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you, guys. On to item 7, the general information. You know, our April work session is next Monday. And then the April board meeting will be the 15th. So any once around the table, starting with, Bruce, I always start with you. So I will give you a break and start with Katie and come back to you.
Oh, me?
Yeah, sure. You got anything?
I won't be here on April 1st,
You will
but.
not be,
I
okay.
will not be, but I will say that, I think there's a lot of work going into this referendum, and, I feel like things are going well on the doors. There are just certain comments, like somebody might be, not agree with some singular item that is included in all the construction projects or whatever, and, I don't believe that's gonna prevent them from supporting all of the other projects that we need. So I'm not really hearing a lot of blowback. We've had, Hunter's doing an amazing job, on Facebook, and so pay attention to your Facebook posts for the next week, to your feed. And Lori's been just amazing.
You have
and
been
we've had-
amazing with the labor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'd like to recruit some labor
Yes.
for next weekend. Kitty and I
You mean
can
this weekend coming up?
easily teach you how to knock on doors.
And it's fun. It is, you don't believe me, but it's fun.
Watchtower and all
It's
that.
fun. Listen, and what a better cause than, to tell them about the district. And they appreciate it. They want to
Getting
know.
more information.
Yeah, and we keep touting all the work that was done on the video, and.
So you should be getting lots of hits.
You should be getting a lot. Anyways, so I'm just gonna say, everybody remember to vote April 2nd. That's it.
Very good. All right. For myself, I have a question for you and Sarah, but I'll catch that afterwards. That's, and I had one other one, but now I'm thinking about that referendum, so I can't even remember what that other one was. So, Bob, how about you?
I do have, update. Preferred Builders is going to move this construction up around the school district, their housing development. So I did look at their concept plan a few weeks ago. And my instructions to them was, we were gonna set up a meeting with Mark, So one of the access points they have on that concept plan is actually using the school district's northern access road that goes into the Meadows development. And I said that was off limits, but I felt that it was worth a discussion because here's our opportunity to reduce the traffic flow that's going through the campus, because that is a shortcut from a lot of people to get to Hudson. The other part of that conversation is their engineers did bring up a good point in that there's some career trade opportunities because there are building homes around there. They said that these homes are gonna sell 5 to 1. And they said the issue is the workforce is lousy. So they were hoping to somehow work with the school district when they're to have their electricians on site, their plumbers and everybody else. You know, they said, is that an opportunity to actually even, you know, maybe recruit some of that? We're gonna be right in the back door. So I said, let's, you know, we can start the conversation. But Mark, I'll be getting a hold of you. They asked if the board wanted them to come and speak with their final concept plan to see if there's any
I'd like to see their
recommendations,
concept plan, I
concerns.
think, and it'd be good to have it up on the screen and up on TV so that residents can see it.
But there's 300 homes going, you know, around our district, so we want to make sure that we do it right, and I do appreciate them. You know, they're the one that brought up we need to probably speak with the school district about this. And I said, that's good. So I was happy to hear them, you know, make the initiative and bring that up. So, okay.
How does it map out on top of the referendum layout with traffic changes?
Well, see, it's going to wrap around and connect into Bruce Larson Way. But yeah, there's some clumsiness with that area, and it's going to produce a lot of traffic on Highway Double V. So there's probably going to be a traffic light there because of the excessive traffic. That's
From 300 homes.
Right. And that is one of the biggest concerns that I had. I said, no, I said, we need to seal this up.
Right.
I said, otherwise we're gonna have a freeway going directly through our intersection. So somehow to loop that around the corridor, so we don't have that, otherwise we're gonna have a disaster. And they're very receptive on, you know, let's do something that can work. And I said, all right.
I'm glad you're thinking of that ahead of time.
Yep.
So you're gonna be meeting
Right.
with Mark and them first, and then
Yeah,
come back to
so,
us?
you know, and then potentially maybe go the night to the April 15th. We can do it in May too. Like I said, we're still.
Would they be
trying.
ready that quick?
They were hoping that I was
They would
gonna have
like it
them on
quick.
marches.
Oh. Okay.
That's not.
We might even involve Juan in one of those meetings too. Since
Pardon?
Our
I think-
pool architects who's
yeah.
doing our mapping in on the conversation, so
That's a good idea.
we're getting, you know, the support we need
Some
from our side.
Yep.
Good
Okay.
idea.
All right, I'll be in touch.
Great. All right, Catherine?
Nope, I'm good.
Lori?
Not at this time.
All right. And Bruce?
No, thanks.
Thanks.
All right. So then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Katie. Anybody else?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. And it is, oh, I can't look at that clock. I've got 7:12.
I do too.
Good grief, Marie.
I can read my computer. All right, thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.